So good evening. It's surreal, and after Andy's speech, it's somewhat emotional. And Andy has covered some of the process quite well. One of the terms I heard him use quite a lot was quiet voices. Well, actually, I don't have one of those. So I've been chosen to be the voice of the council today, so I thank you for choosing me. I've also been tasked to cover the process in 5 minutes, which is a great challenge for me because I could easily talk about the process for the hour and 15 minutes that we have this room for. But to say, I started the process last year. First of all, I was not willing to take part at all, especially when I heard it was about the economy, because I had no idea really how I could take part in a conversation about something I knew very little about and something that I never ever really engaged in. So my first thought was, actually, that sounds like watching paint dry, and I don't think I can do that, and especially not for 4 weeks. And actually, there was 5 sessions. So I challenged myself. 2017 was my year of saying yes, so part of the challenge was saying yes to things that I didn't like or perhaps hadn't done before. So seemingly the economy was one of those. However, the first session, within sort of half an hour, I was like, oh, actually, I can have a conversation about the economy. This is really good. By the end of the first session, I was invited to take part in a documentary with the lovely Paul Wyatt. And so, of course, it was my year of saying yes, so I said yes. So we embarked on making the documentary. We continued with the process. And by about week 3, I couldn't contain myself because I was now so involved and very excited about the fact that I'd been given this opportunity to say something from a layperson's point of view. So I couldn't sit and say, yes, that's from the experts, that's great. So, as I said, I don't have a quiet voice, so I used my quite loud voice to challenge some of the experts. Throughout the process, I felt actually that one of the things that needs to come out of this is a continuation of this type of council. How has the country run, or how has the world run, without actually really finding out what it means to somebody like me? So I thought about imbalances in terms of this gender imbalance, in terms of diversity. There's an imbalance, there's hardly any females. Quite a lot of councillors don't look like me because they're not female, they're not black, Caribbean or African. So how can they be making decisions about my life? And why do I sit back and say, okay, so milk's gone up, yes, that affects me. Petrol's gone up, yes, that affects me, and actually do nothing about it. So I've challenged myself to speak to just about everybody. So anybody who's here that I've invited, I speak about it continuously. And I have to say, although at the start of the process I thought it was like paint drying, I have to say, if you've never watched paint dry, you need to do it because it is absolutely, it's amazing. So, it really is. And 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that I'd be sat here talking about this subject, as I equally wouldn't have said that I would be involved in politics. Because, Andy mentioned about distrust, and I just thought I can't be involved in something like that. However, I've now joined the Labour Party, and I'm an active member of the Labour Party with the view to becoming a councillor. And I had the great opportunity to deliver the introduction and welcome speech for Dawn Butler's pre-budget speech. And the budget was something it was a sofa conversation. So you phoned your friends, have you seen the budget? These things have gone up, and did nothing. But I think I had the opportunity to meet lots of people that I perhaps wouldn't have met had I not taken part in the process. And I was invited by Rima to meet with Borough Cadbury's Trust, and I thought they only did chocolate. So, of course, I said yes, and I went along, and that was absolutely phenomenal. I've had the opportunity to shadow the local MP, and through part of the process with filming with Paul, I've interviewed the leader of the council, and I asked him about challenging moments as a councillor, and he said one of the challenges was when you have to make cuts and you cream off the top. So I asked Paul to stop filming, because actually what he didn't know was that I was one of those people that he'd creamed off the top. So I thought I'd best say this off camera because he wasn't prepared for it. So I've been more involved. I speak more to my children. I feel that I have a responsibility to roll out the opportunity. So it's like magic to hear the Bank of England say that you're actually going to be engaging in this process. And so I guess that's the bit that was kind of emotional for me, because I just never saw it coming. In 2016, I wouldn't have imagined that I would be part of a process that's going to affect change. And I'm really, really excited about it. And so I challenge. Don't ask me about quantitative easing, because I still haven't worked that out, or GDP. Okay. So, but just to say, if I'm allowed to, I don't know how I'm doing for my timer. Okay, just to say, if I'm allowed to, the documentary, as it stands, is currently 15 minutes. But the process was so exciting that we just continued to film. We couldn't find a point to stop. So we filmed in graveyards, we filmed in Sainsbury's, we filmed in the local community. And I took the camera to my local area because I thought, actually, if we're talking about me, I want to do grassroots. I want to get to the bottom. I want to meet some real people that have conversations that most of us understand without using a thesaurus. So that has done so well, and people are really excited about it. However, because we've done some more filming, there's so much more for people to know and to understand about the process. And I just think, not only because it was great fun and a great learning experience, I just think it really needs to be rolled out. And so, if I may say that we now have a Kickstart going, and I just urge people to share the Kickstart, tell other people about the process, and actually to just say to them that to watch paint dry is life-changing. Is that my time?
Now, Patricia, let me just ask you one question before we move on. I just want to say to people that we'd have been delighted if Patricia joined any political party. There wasn't a particular direction. It's your engagement that we prize rather than it wasn't a secret propagandistic effort. But on that theme, Jim, I'm just interested, in the sitting segment, it wasn't that you all agreed with each other. Sometimes you disagree. Just tell us about that process of disagreeing with people and working through that.
Okay, so we were set the task of coming up with a charter. And so one of the first words we came up with was value. So people were trying to, formulate this charter, and I said, but actually, what does value mean? Because what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to you? And different people had different opinions. And, of course, there were some people who weren't really open to talk about theirs. But I thought that, actually, it's a good opportunity to have some debate. And through the debate and the thrashing out, we were from different areas, we had different careers, culturally, we were different, the gender was different, and I was one of the people who's self-employed, and so I was quite passionate about how we were going to be impacted by the new changes in taxes, where there were others who were employed, and they were like, well, you've made that choice to do that, so actually I think you should be taxed heavily. And my response was, well, you've made that choice to be employed. And so the choices are there for everybody. And so there was some of, those amongst the citizens, and then there was a challenge amongst the experts. And if you watch the documentary, the last of the plugs, if you watch the documentary, you'll see that there's an exchange between myself and an expert who was from agriculture. And she was quite openly saying, well, we use pesticides, and this allows for poor people to be able to afford food. And I was so taken back by that comment. And there were other people that were in the group, and I kind of looked around, and I thought, well, actually, nobody's responding. But I couldn't contain myself. And I just had to say, that actually isn't okay. And also, that it didn't make sense, because I was representing the poor people, because it just didn't make sense. So it was quite liberating, because actually it was like, yeah, I didn't think I knew anything in the beginning, but actually I do know that something isn't right. And it's as simple as that. It wasn't right.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so just quickly, first of all, I'm an academic, so by no means were we saying there's no need for experts. What we're saying is there needs to be a collaboration. I definitely think we should have teachers, and it brings into primary education all the way through. In answer to whether I felt it was just something for me personally, when I began the process, it was like, well, that's all I can talk about. I can only talk about my own economy. having gone through the process and lots of deliberation and debate and discussion, I realise actually that it's my responsibility not for it just to be a personalised thing, but I have a duty now to share that and have a better understanding of the wider economy so that people that I speak to are able to make better decisions and that I can make informed decisions because I'm now more aware of kind of what's really happening. So, yeah, was there a point that I missed around he's looking down now? But I hope I've answered your question. So it's for everybody, children, and it's wider than just myself.